Well, hello, all my wonderful, beautiful brothers of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. All my wonderful, beautiful bros, guys of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. I am the one, the only, the dark, the shadow of the Maverick, Dark Shadow Maverick, here with two different things, an important announcement, and another video of a series that I am really having a ball doing as I figure out about more symbiotes. Actually, let me look something up real quick, because I know now that Riot and Scorn aren't made up, but there is this one symbiote I heard about, so I'm just going to look it up, see if it's not an actual fan creation, and that it's actually something that comes from the comics. And I think it said something about Earth 616. Yes, Earth 616 apparently. So, confirmation. Agony is real and from the comics. So that makes, oh, and don't think I forgot about Toxin and Anti-Venom. Just because I didn't mention them in the previous part, doesn't mean that I forgot. No, they are still very fresh in my mind. So, we got... shit, my OCD. For frick's sake. Why does that have to come back at the worst time? Anyways. So we have the rest of the symbiotes we got to deal with. Like, we got Null, the creator of all the symbiotes, the strongest symbiote, All Black. And then there's Scorn, Anti-Venom, Toxin, Riot is dead now, so yeah. No more any of him. And now confirmed agony is also going to be a part of this. Yes, symbiotes off the freaking walls. And if you guys are wondering why Venom didn't mention anything about agony, I didn't know if agony was actually really from the comics. I didn't know if it was actually from the comics or if it was like a fan creation from the person I heard, the name from. But apparently, Earth 616 is where agony, that shit happens. Apparently. And seeing as that is a part of the thing, so agony is now freaking canon to the story. And, quick announcement beyond the whole thing with the finally figuring out about agony. How do I say this? I feel like, seeing as the first time I did this, like the original What If Izuku Was Carnage, was a 2-part movie thing, and it was actually pretty damn long. I think that I should sort of treat this in the same way by pulling a little bit of a marathon run. Basically, do parts of this all the way up until, like right before what happens with the Kamino Award. So right before, the All for One All Might rematch. Right before that. So basically, everything up until the Kamino incident is what I'm going to be covering. So, however many parts it takes to get there will just depend on what happens. So, what we already do know about this scenario, this what if, is that Izuku has Carnage, because, this what if is literally titled What If He Had the Carnage Symbiote, and that Carnage basically ate Riot after Izuku, Carnage, and, the rest of the Todoroki family that were actually there, and Shinso, seeing as now Shinso is apparently, and has been for quite some time, been the host, the new host for Venom, because the old host was Inko Midoriya, Izuku's birth mother. But apparently, along the way, after it was pretty much confirmed that Inko was dead, Venom, sometime after, found Shinso, and ever since, Shinso has been Venom's host. And so, yeah. The symbiotes we have right now, we got Carnage, and we got Venom. And, well, Izuku and Shinso are actually good friends. Really good friends. And last time I remember, basically, where we left off was the first day of UA. I'm going to say several days have passed. Maybe like a week or 2 or 3 or so. I don't know how many, but whatever. 3 weeks is a month. Or 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. But something around that is like a month. So maybe just under that, like a little bit. As that time has passed. And finally, it comes the day. Everyone's in class. And Aizawa just brings up combat training. Yes, seeing as where we left off was the first day, now we are going to go to the portion of the story which is the heroes versus villains mock battles. And if you guys remember last part, I said that Toga was a transfer student to class 1A. And that the reason why she wasn't there for the test is because, well, she basically saw Riot. But now that problem is all water under the bridge. So yeah, basically, and also, Toga is like, getting all lovey-dovey with Izuku, and Momo was getting all lovey-dovey with Shoto. Seeing as Shoto was one of the people that helped rescue her from what happened back at the entrance exam. So, yeah. That's the thing. Basically, then all of a sudden, freaking All Might would go through the damn door like John Cena-ing it, like, all the way through the damn door. Basically, All Might explaining that he was going to be the one who was going to be doing this. Like, so Aizawa just gets an opportunity to nap, and he's like, "Fine with me." Hey, any opportunity I get to nap, fine with me. And All Might's just like, okay, it's going to be 2-on-2, 2 heroes, 2 villains. We're going to be heading over to City Site Gamma for this test. And, well, before any of that, you must also know the clothes make the pros. And basically, All Might would push the button, and all the suitcases would appear, but one suitcase would be missing. And that's whenever Izuku would be like, "Oh, my suitcase, I really don't need one." And All Might's like, "Why is that, young Midoriya?" And Izuku's like, "Well, tell me, do you think this," and then he just turns into monster form Carnage, "needs hero costume?" And then he just turns back to normal after All Might literally is like scared shitless. Like, All Might, like, not just a few days ago, he was flicked into a freaking wall. So he's like, ah, shit, another one of these? Oh, God. So basically, yes, Izuku basically telling All Might that he already has his hero costume. But then he does slim down to the mean, lean Carnage form, the one that's kind of like black suit Spider-Man, but Carnage colors, like I said in the previous part. And basically he's like, this is our hero costume. He's like doing a tongue thing. And you know, Izuku's just like, Carnage, never do that again. And All Might's just like, what the hell? Your hero costume, like, is sentient? Not only that, like, it moves on its own. Like, what the shit? And Carnage just like, he has no idea what we're actually capable of. Especially now that we got rid of Riot. And the cool, juicy snack. And Izuku's like, yeah, that's one of the ideas that you had that I'm actually glad that I agreed with you on. That guy needed to suffer in some way, shape, form, or fashion. He needed to suffer hard. And damn if I wasn't going to be the one who did it. Because he was the one who was causing me to lose my shit. Because of freaking paranoia. And like, about, like, the safety of my own family and possible friends in the future. So, yeah. If anybody was going to be doing the final blow, it was going to be us. Right, buddy? And Conch is like, right-o. Yes. And aren't we oh so better after finally getting that load off our shoulders? And All Might's just like, wait, you ate him? And Izuku's like, yeah, after kind of ripped him off of the host that he was training, currently, the dude is now in, like, intensive care. Apparently, somehow he managed to hang on, but, like, now he's, like, bad, like, freaking on life support. And it turns out he's the villain Muscular who did indeed kill the water hose heroes. Apparently something happened, and Riot found a way to basically screw Muscular over. Like, if he already wasn't screwing us over. Just had to screw someone else over as well. And that being his own host. Like, I heard the guy's bad news bears with his own host, but Jesus. What Muscular looked like whenever we ripped the two apart. I mean, that's just wrong. In all sense of the word. So, I presume that this will be okay. You know, All Might just sees the lean, mean Carnage machine suit that, you know, Izuku has formed around him. And, you know, the reason why his voice is sounding more normal now is because he's peeled back the face to show that it's still Izuku in there. Because All Might, after getting flipped by Riot into a wall, yeah, he's gonna have his own paranoia of symbiotes in general. So, yeah, basically All Might's like, sure, whatever gets this done faster. And Carnage is like, I can tell he isn't all that easy around us after what happened with Riot. And Izuku's like, oh, yeah, that probably would not look good for your image. Good thing that wasn't on local television or anything. Because, that would look pretty bad for your image, actually. And wait, I just now noticed something. You're like in your retro Silver Age uniform, All Might. What's the occasion? Is it just because this is a new thing? I guess A for effort. And All Might is just like, whatever. So let's get this over with. And the first bout would be in between Team A and Team D. Team A being the heroes, Team D being the villains. And this would be something that would sting Izuku greatly because of who the villains would be. Because Izuku already knew that he was one of the heroes. He was one of the people who were part of Team A. And that's whenever All Might actually announced that Izuku was going to be doing this alone because he kind of already had his symbiote partner. And then Aizawa actually does pipe up from his nap. Hearing this, he's like, don't you think that's kind of a little unfair, though? I mean, Carnage is technically more or less Izuku's quirk as well. So, don't you think it's a little bit unfair? And All Might's like, actually, no, I don't. And as I was like, yeah, he kind of has a talk with All Might and finally convinces him to let Izuku have a partner. That partner being Toga. However, what really just gets Izuku's goat is whenever they hear the villains are being announced. That's what gets Izuku down. He's going to have to fight his brother along with Bakugo, who he already knows from past memory. You know, whenever he was at the orphanage and had to go to school from there, he already knows from past memory that much, that Bakugo is not a nice person. And, well, pairing Bakugo up with his brother, pairing his brother up with Bakugo, and not only that, his brother having to go against him, and having to fight each other. There's Endeavor's training, and then there's this. Izuku is just not feeling it. But then Shoto's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. Hey, if that Bakugo guy tries to pull anything, I'll make sure to make him suffer after all is done. And Izuku does pipe up a little bit, after hearing that. He's just like, thanks, Shoto. And Shoto's like, don't mention it, brother. And Bakugo's like, come on, what is taking you so damn long? Freaking icy hot. And Carnage is just like, can we murder the Katsuki kid now? And Izuku's just like, all in due time, we will get our revenge. All in due time. We just have to wait for Shoto and Bakugo to set everything up before we can go in ourselves, along with Toga. That is, what you heard, right? You weren't asleep inside me whenever All Might was giving out, the explanation. And Carnage is like, oh, hell no, I was not asleep. It's just, I really do not like that Katsuki kid. He really pisses me off. And Izuku's just like, Well, like I said, all in due time. All in due time. Don't worry. While not going to kill Katsuki, we will leave him with a little bit of a present to remember us by. And Carnage just pipes up at that, and he's like, oh. Yes. Present indeed. And Toga's like, Izuku, they've set up everything. And Izuku's like, yeah, Toga, before we go into the building, just let me check something real quick. He just, like, spiderwebs up to the, building, and then, sticks himself there, and crawls up it. That's basically one of the powers he figured out he had, after doing more training. He figured out about him being able to stick to stuff. And the fact that he can actually control how sticky he is. The symbiote fibers. Little feelers. Symbiote version, though. And, well, Izuku would just take a good look in, and he would see. And then he would just jump down after, seeing what he needed to see, and tell Toga, well, whenever he jumped down, he would actually land on his feet like a badass. And then he would tell Toga as he was running over there, the bomb is on the top floor. And sadly, my brother's guarding it. Please, whatever you do, try not to, go overboard. And Toga's like, oh, so you already know about my quirk. And Izuku's like, how could I not? I mean, I'm making a thing, to study all quirks. And he just pulls out, like, his number 13 hero journal. And then it's not just a hero journal, it's a hero, villain, and fellow classmate journal. And he pulls up to the page, like, basically, goes to the page. It's Himako Toga's profile. And Toga is just like, oh my god. Wow, you're actually pretty down pat and accurate with, everything about me. Man, you really do indeed pay attention, don't ya? And Izuku's like, that and you and me are good at mixing and mingling with each other during lunch hours. Like, lunch rush. Not the hero, but indeed the time of the day. And then finally, they would both go in, as Toga would just nod this and be like, damn, the fact that he's so freaking observant and so freaking hot. And Izuku would be like, Toga, did you say something? And Toga would be like, nothing. And Carnage would just be like, your hormone levels say otherwise, Toga. And Toga would be like, what? And Momo's in the observatory thing, just, wanting to make sure that Shoto's okay. Looking out for him, because she got a crush. And, well, Izuku just lays out the plan. He has a plan. Technically, him and Carnage came up with this plan in his head together. So, it's their plan, but whatever. Basically, they would stay down here, because, knows that Like, Izuku already knows that Bakugo's going to come down after him. And, well, that would basically mean that Toga would do the part of getting the bomb. And Toga would be like, not fair, I have to go up against your brother? Ugh, at least you have the added advantage of being able to copy his quirk. And Izuku would be like, yeah, copy. That's what that is. Yeah, copy. Him actually knowing what he actually did in order to get the powers. And technically, the blue flames don't even come from Shoto, because Shoto doesn't have blue flames. So, the reason why Izuku was able to generate blue flames, not even he is aware of. Not even he's aware of why that is. And that's until, Toga scaling up the stairs, would just barely be able to dodge an explosion from Bakugo as he was coming down, screaming, Deku! And Izuku would just be like, Carnage? Let's do this. Suit up. And now it's our turn. And Bakugo would just be shooting explosions. And Izuku would be dodging as Carnage because he knows that explosions are both fire and sound. So, yeah, that's a big no-no. However, Izuku would seem to have figured something out because, as they were, sprinting towards each other, and, basically, one of Izuku's, hands grabbed Bakugo's arm, and it all of a sudden just turned into tendrils wrapping around his arm, and Bakugo's like, wait, what the hell? What the hell is this? And then Izuku felt a sensation. He felt the strength of riot coursing through him. And so, all of a sudden, he'd just be like, Nighty-night, Bakugo. Boom! And Bakugo would just be sent spiraling into a wall, bleeding from his mouth, almost like a hole punched straight through his gut. Yeah, that was a savage, a nasty punch. And now Izuku is just figuring out that by basically eating Riot, the power boost that they gained, Izuku heavily underestimated. He knew that it was a big power boost, but this shit is freaking insane. He one-shotted Bakugo. He one-shotted the man. And, so bad that he had to be automatically sent to Recovery Girl. They couldn't even put capture tape on him. But he still was indeed knocked out, so now there's just Shoto left to deal with. And, well, Izuku's scaling up the walls and finally getting to where, Toga is, and finding out that she isn't faring too well. She's not faring too well at all. And Shoto is just throwing both ice and fire, willy-nilly, just to, encase the area. and, like, basically create some sort of monsoon within the building to, like, wash Toga out. And, you know, it's mostly working. However, before he's able to make the big old giant monsoon out of turning every area hot and cold at the same time with his ice and his fire, you know, Izuku shows up and he's like, "Hello, brother." And, you know, Shoto's just like, "Izuku, you showed up as Carnage. I see. We're wanting to get down to business now, aren't we? You do know that I'm not afraid to use my fire if I have to." And Izuku's like, "Good. Because it wouldn't be all that great, you know, fun if you weren't a challenge at all before we defeated you, brother." And Shoto would be like, "Oh, we're making predictions now, aren't we?" You know, they would just be, like, going at each other without actually going at each other. Like, they'd just be like, them fighting words. And Toga would actually just be like, you know, if you gave her popcorn, some soft shakers, and some butter, she could actually be, like, enjoying this like a movie. Well, that is if she already wasn't bruised, battered, and beaten. And, you know, Toga is just watching this. And then finally, Izuku's like, "Well then, let's do this. Let's dance." And all of a sudden just catapults himself towards Shoto. And Shoto would just go and encircle one of his hands in fire. And Izuku would have dodged this, but he would have, like, Shoto would have encircled another one of his hands in, like, ice, like, encasing it in ice. And just go, whoosh, like, Shoryuken, and just uppercutting Izuku straight into the jaw, smashing him all the way into the ceiling, and going up and out of the building, landing on top of the building completely, just like getting knocked out of there. And Izuku was like, "Damn, looks like brother's got punch." And Shoto's like, "What? How the hell?" And, you know, Izuku's just like, "That was fun. Let's see if we can do it again, but better." And he would just swoosh at him again. You know, just shing, shing, like, he would have, like, tendril blades, like, swinging out in all directions. Like the blades of chaos that Kratos uses. And, well, Shoto's just like, "Jesus Christ." And it's like, well, then I guess I had no other choice. And, well, Shoto just sends a flurry of both ice and firewalls, you know, towards Izuku to try and, like, bury him underneath all of the pressure of all the attacks. Like, bury this man. However, Izuku doesn't seem to be having it. Not having it at all. Because Izuku's just like, "Oh, that's how we're going to play it. Well then, let's see if the training has paid off." And then erupting blue flames from his body and the body of the symbiote Shoto would realize Carnage is not complaining about how much the flames hurt anymore. And Shoto's like, oh shit, he got Carnage to have an immunity to the blue flames. Wow. He's like, I'm screwed. And Carnage is just like, ditto. And was like, woof, 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 and just like burn out all of these different walls. And just like send like overhead, like a tidal wave overhead of just blue flames on top of Shoto, just enough to where they could like melt the bomb, because Shoto had froze it over, like encasing it in a little bit of an ice cube. But this like tidal wave of blue flames just like not only like take Shoto out of commission, but you know, Izuku's freely able to just attach, like stretch his limbs out and pull himself all the way towards over there, like super fast, and then touch the heroes of one. And then basically, like, Togo will actually see Izuku do something that he's never really done before. At least that she's never seen him do. Like, actually bring out the nails of the Carnage Symbiote and stick them into Shoto. However, instead of hurting Shoto, it actually seems to be healing him from all the third-degree burns. And there's no scarring afterwards, except for the scar on his eye, but that kind of can't be helped. Shoto was just like, the fuck? Like, oh my god. Izuku. Man, you really have been training your ass off. You've really managed to perfect that healing technique. And, well, basically after everything, you know, Izuku and, you know, Toga and Shoto would be hanging out of the building, because Bakugo would have already been sent to Recovery Girls, so he would have already been out there for a while. And, well, Momo would have just run over to Shoto and been like, Shoto, are you okay? What the? But last time I saw you... And Shoto was like, third-degree burns? Yeah, Izuku's helpful with that. So is Carnage. The heal of my injury is pretty good. And the fact that you were able to build up a resistance to the blue flames shows how hard you work to improve yourself, Izuku. Yes? Okay, guys, I will be back. And we are back! That was pizza, and it was delicious. Oh, that's so good. Okay. So we've just now finished off with the Heroes of Villains mock battles. However, it is not where this part is going to end. Oh, hell no. There is more. There is more to be going through. You see, an organization led by All For One, an organization known as the League of Villains. I have been worried about the activity of a certain symbiote. Certain symbiote. Believed to be from another Earth, from another dimension. Symbiote known as Agony. And it seems that Agony, well, basically, the Agony Symbiote, they were able to put a tracker on it. The League of Villains were. And it was actually shown that the Agony Symbiote was headed straight towards, well, somewhere. But the villains did not automatically know where. Though it was increasing in speed. It does indeed seem things are shaking up. Because not too long after this little event, Aizawa announces that they are going to go on a field trip to the USJ. The Unforeseen Simulation Joint. There, I believe I got it first try. That's a new one for me. Basically, as the bus of everybody is headed towards the USJ, Izuku in his more lean, Carnage suit form, just so that he can fit in the bus. Izuku is actually having, a good old time. And he also seems to have a bus buddy. Or, as you could say, a bus girlfriend. Yes, after basically they work together as a team, Izuku and Toga are finally recognizing each other as boyfriend-girlfriend material. Plus that kiss, even though it was forced upon them, it was still a pretty damn good kiss, and not only that, it was a French kiss. So yeah, they now completely and totally recognize each other as romantic material. And so basically bus boyfriend, bus girlfriend, Izuku does feel a often warm coziness whenever Carnage is around, his body surrounding it. And he wants to see if Toga feels the same warm coziness if, she were to just lie down on his lap for the majority of the bus ride. And she does indeed agree that she does feel indeed warm and cozy. Maybe that's just because of her hormones rising. Carnage is maybe that's just because your hormones are rising, Himiko. And Yumiko does realize like that in like the reflection of the bus window, she realizes, ah shit, she is blushing. Like, but then again, can you really blame her? She is in the lap of her boyfriend. Anyways, after all that would be said and done, there would be the whole USJ thing, but Izuku's spidey sense would be like set off like crazy. You know, just going berserk. And he'd be like, Mr. Aizawa. And Aizawa would be like, what? And Izuku's like, remember what was said about the whole spidey sense thing and how can really like sense danger or like some sort of like incoming thing? Well, my spidey sense is going off the rails, and it seems to escalate more and more the closer and closer we get to the USJ building. I can literally see it right in front of me as we're driving up to it, and now my spidey sense is like so freaking out that I can barely hear my own thoughts. I mean, don't you think that's a little bit alarming? And as I was like, you're saying it's so loud you can barely hear your own thoughts? I'd say that if your spidey sense is acting up that much, then it's very alarming. Like, a shit ton alarming. I'm gonna need to contact 13 about this. Because, you know, Aizawa has noticed over the time that he's been teaching Class 1A that Izuku's spidey sense is never wrong. It's never wrong. He's just that damn good. Him and Carnage in like full synchronization together are just that damn good. And, you know, Aizawa knows that, you know, the spidey sense of Izuku and Carnage is never wrong. He's like, I'm gonna have to inform 13 about this. If she hasn't already, like, succumbed to whatever is, like, spiking up Izuku's spidey sense like mad. And so, you know, I was also aware that All Might isn't there yet, so, like, he was informed that, apparently he's dealing with some villains off somewhere else. And All Might, Aizawa finds that very, very, very possibly convenient for any villain that might want to stick around. Like, if there were villains around, you know, very convenient for them, not so convenient for, you know, Class 1A and all of the heroes. Because that's just too damn, like, coinkadinky. You know, just be like, he just finds 13, and 13 is about to do the whole explanation. That's when Aizawa whispers to 13 about, well, remember how you were informed about Izuku and having this spidey sense power and how he's never wrong? And he informs 13 about what Izuku said his and Carnage spidey sense was picking up from the USJ building. And 13 is just like, oh my, that doesn't need to seem to be troublesome. As I was like, troublesome? Lady, the last time like something like this happened with Izuku's spidey sense, people, you know, could have been killed. So, yeah. Troublesome is like an understatement beyond understatement. So, you know, they just open the doors, And they get down there, and Izuku is basically like, whoever you are, we know you're here. Don't try and hide. We know you're here. And then just like some purple clouds will be appearing. And Kurogiri, Shigaraki, and some fodder level, like low tier villains will come out of the portals. And Shigaraki would be like, oh damn, there goes the element of surprise. And, oh boy. Because of this, Shigaraki actually sends out the Nomu early. Because of the fact that he was planning on, the element of surprise. But apparently that's not going to work. And so, just to draw All Might out, and just because, he's kind of teed that he wasn't able to get the element of surprise on the heroes. So he just decides to send the Nomu out early. And this is high-end Nomu, so yeah. This ain't gonna be good. Aizawa just barely managed to escape being crushed like he was in canon. However, 13 isn't so lucky. Like, being in between a Nomu and a hard place, Kurogiri is just able to portal himself straight through 13 as she's about to use her black hole quirk on the Nomu, because she literally has no idea what this thing's weak spot is. It could be the brain, but she's weighing her options, and so just decides to black hole it. But that's whenever Kurogiri just does his thing, like split action, and 13 is now down for the count. And that's whenever something interesting happens, to say the least. If not interesting, terrifying. Well, more or less for the League of Villains than the heroes. More or less, they'd probably be confused, unless, like, normally they'd probably be confused, but then again, they do have Izuku and Shinso that are a part of UA, and they have symbiotes, so they wouldn't, like, nearly be as confused as, like, canon, UA students. They're not nearly as confused. Like, they're still confused, but not nearly as confused as they would have been if this was canon UA students. Like, this, like, purple blur just seems to, vanish in and out of nowhere. Doesn't seem to be any sort of portal. And Kurogiri's like, what the shit? And, well, this purple blur, well, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This purple blur would eventually stop straight in front of the person next to Izuku, which on one side of Izuku he has his brother Shoto, and on the other side he has his girlfriend Toga. And the side in which the creature stopped was right in front of Toga. And Toga's like, ah, shit, like, frick. And, Toga is actually trying to run from this purple blur. And she ends up actually getting teleported. Everybody ends up getting teleported. Even the purple blur ends up getting teleported. And the purple blur, it just seems to be revealed its true form. Some purple sludge stuff. And, the zone where, Shoto ends up getting sent to, he looks up, and the purple sludge is in the air and falling down. And as soon as it hits him, you hear like a BAM! Because as soon as it hits him, it causes Shoto to fall backwards and on his freaking back. And, the stuff would just start wriggling around, and Shoto all of a sudden would be inside of his own mind. And he'd be like, what the hell is this? And this purple and black entity would be staring face to face with him inside of this dark void. Dark void Pokemon reference. Dark void. Anyways, inside this void of darkness, there would be this purple and black creature, and it would state its name. It would say, No, let me prepare for this, because let me prepare for this. We are agony. And Shoto's like, agony? And it would just be like, yes. And we also spawn venom. New replication. You feel like your brother. Both of you. Not only fire and ice, but symbiote partner. Shoto does now, he's starting to remember, Carnage did come from Venom, and this thing, it's saying that it came from Venom as well. This agony symbiote, you could say. And, Shoto's like, that creature looks unstoppable, but the more help we have, seeing as Shinso isn't here, the better. The more help we have, the better, I guess. Though, I might have to ask you, how much about symbiosis do you actually know of? Because Izuku's had plenty of time to bond with Carnage and learn all sorts of stuff about him. However, we would just now be bonding. So, really, I'm not so sure. And then Agony would be like, the Agony Symbiote would be like, no worries. We be strong. Just as Venom comes from Carnage, just as Carnage comes from Venom, we come from Venom. And so, we also have something that Carnage has, a genetic memory. And Shoto remember that the genetic memory thing is kind of how Izuku was able to get the half-and-half quirk. And, Shoto's like, so you could use your genetic memory to be able to, get up to snuff with your brother? And the Agony Symbiote is like, yes, we and Carnage would be even level, in a sense. However, pray tell, who is Carnage's host? And Shoto's like, my adopted brother, Izuku Midoriya. Bleh, Izuku Midoriya Todoroki. And I am Shoto Todoroki. So I guess, now that everything's cleared, cleared up, I guess now, what are we waiting for, I guess? And the agony symbiote would be like, indeed. Bonding now. And it would just be like, shoo. And, Izuku would be like, worried, like, what the hell is happening to Shoto? Is this why Spidey Sense was going off? And Carnage would be like, yes, this purple blur thing is why the Spidey Sense was going haywire. Not just because of these villains, but because of whatever that is. And then you would just hear, don't you notice us? We are agony, brother. In both ways now. As we too come from Venom. Just like how you come from Venom. And Carnage would just be like, agony. Agony Symbiote. You say you come from Father as well? And you're bonded to Shoto, aren't you? And the agony symbiote would just be like, indeed. Would you like to see what we can do, brother? Allow us to show you. And this would just be Shoto partially covered by the agony symbiote. And then the agony symbiote would just go full cover and just like, we are agony. And then, we just go blitzing forward and just start basically kicking the shit out of the Nomu. And Carnage would join in on the fun as well. Be like, Carnage would just make the smart remark of, I guess you could consider this a brother-to-brother activity. Like, a family activity. Right, Agony? And Agony would be like, indeed. So, family activity. Kicking the shit out of this chicken shit. Ugly motherfucker. And then just get cut off by Carnage be like, language, brother. They'd be like, language, brother. And, the Nomu would just be trying, sound like Elmer Fudd there for a second. Basically, the Nomu would be trying to swipe at, Izuku with inside, like, the Carnage Symbiote suit, and Shoto inside the Agony Symbiote suit. But with no success, and they'd just be kicking the crap out of the Nomu. That is until finally, both at the same time, Carnage and Agony, like the Carnage Symbiote and the Agony Symbiote, both realize, hey, that thing on top of its head, the exposed brain, that's probably the weak point. And Shigaraki's like, ah, shit, they found out about the weak point. And Carnage is also like, it seems the quirks of this thing has shock absorption and regeneration, also super strength and super speed. No wonder we're having such a difficult time actually keeping this thing down. We can take it down, of course, but we can't seem to keep it taken down. And Agony, the symbiote, is just like, well then, the brain it is. And, you know, Carnage would just be like, the brain it is. And they would both basically dash straight forward and, like, you know, like, twist, like, their, you know, tendril arms around, like, basically, like, Carnage would wrap tendrils around its arm to, like, make tendril claws, and so would the Agony Symbiote do the exact same thing. And they would basically just pull, like, a freaking Getsuga. Like, Kiba's, like, Fang over Fang. They would basically do that, but, like, a symbiote version. And they would just head straight up in the air and swoop, like, boom! Like, straight into the Nomu's brain. And, you know, they would come out the other side of, like, the Nomu's spine, and it would just get completely, like, it would just, like, turn into, like, bubbling film, like, just, like, explode. And there would be, like, nothing left. Except for, like, the filmy remains of, like, the Nomu's insides and outsides smushed together like pulp out of a freaking orange juice. And Shigaraki would see this and be like, hell no. This is not happening. This cannot be happening. This is not good. And, you know, the Agony Symbiote, the Shoto with the Agony Symbiote basically on, would basically look towards Izuku with the Carnage Symbiote on, and they would look towards each other, and they'd basically be like, yep. And they would go straight towards Shigaraki, and Kirigiri would be like, yeah, we need to get the hell out of here. Like, get the hell out of Dodge. So they just, like, warp themselves. And, you know, the Agony Symbiote would be cursing under its breath. So would Shoto. Shoto basically, while inside the Agony Symbiote, would be cursing under his breath that they weren't able to get him in time. Because he seemed to be the ringleader, the one who was pulling shots. Pulling all the shots. And Kirigiri was just like the transport, it seemed. And Izuku would be like, calm down, calm down. Get them later. Now, all that needs to be done is to figure out what the hell to do with all these villains. And then All Might just comes crashing through a little bit late, but still, like, with all these fodder villains still around, he, like, basically goes on a kick-ass spree. Like an ass-kicking spree. You know, just kicking sassafras all over the damn place. And so, basically, after All Might's, like, beat the crap out of all the villains, and, you know, they're being taken off the Tartarus prison, and I was like, what the hell was going on back there? Shoto Todoroki, what the f*** was going on back there? And Shoto's just like, oh, you mean this? And Agony just comes out of his shoulder, just like how Carnage would. And it's just like, hello, the name is Agony. We are Agony. And Aizawa was like, yes, agony to my mental fortitude. You know, he'd just be rubbing his temples. And all of a sudden, he would kind of wake up to the realization that, holy shit, there's another symbiote in his class. There's another symbiote in UA in general. And technically, Agony says that they are also spawn of Venom. They are also, a spawn of Venom. So, indeed, Izuku is not only related to Shoto, like, as his adopted brother, but also related to him as in their symbiotes are related to each other. Because they are, both spawned from Venom. But Izuku does have a question, and just like, Shoto, you mind asking Agony when, Venom replicated to create it? And Shoto's like, Agony? You got any idea about that? And Agony's just like, the Agony symbiote would just be like, I don't remember much. However, what I do remember is being told that there is a great danger coming, and that all of you will need as many allies as you can get of our species. Symbiotes, the planet Clintar. I have just now recently bonded with Shoto. The bonding process was under completion while we were fighting the Nomu. So it's a miracle I didn't fly off of Shoto's skin whenever we did that spinning attack. And Izuku's just like, oh, well, I try. And Carnage is just like, yeah, we try. And Agony is just like, the Agony symbiote would just be like, yes. Now, we're not just related by being his adopted brother, but now related in symbiote. I don't remember much of what happened to bring me into life, but what I do know is that we are allies. I mean, none of you any harm. I only mean to help. And Izuku's like, well, thanks, Agony. And Agony's like, don't thank me yet. There's still much to come. And Shoto's like, well, Agony, you're working too hard on yourself. Sure, we need to do some training. Because I don't think that whole little power-up you did to our body lasted for too long. Actually, I'm feeling quite exhausted after all that. Basically, jump-started everything to do with the both of us. And after that, well, I basically feel all kaputted to death. And he's like, oh, we can help with that. And, Agony would just, the Agony symbiote would just cover up all of Shoto and be like, as soon as it would see Carnage's claws. And then Carnage would be like, no, brother, this is to help. Trust me. Now, I need an opening if this is to work. You're bonded to Shoto, so whether or not it actually touches your form, you'll still be healed as well. Trust me. You can trust your family, can you not? And Agony symbiote would be like, we are very exhausted. If it was true that you were to actually have malicious intent, we wouldn't be able to properly defend ourselves. So, I don't know. Sorry, brother, but I don't know. And then Izuku's just like, don't worry, we'll just wait until you've regained some of your energy before we start the healing process then. So, in other words, just take a nap. You could be, trusted to take a nap. Besides, Shoto likes certain Momo Yaoyorozu, and if you two were to be bus buddies, technically 3, seeing as you're a part of my brother now. I think that might help calm you guys down. And, Agony, the Agony Symbiote would be looking around for this Momo Yaoyorozu girl, and, something that's a part of, Shoto's mental, everything would actually help the Agony Symbiote locate Momo, and be like, Miss Yaoyorozu, you mind being bus buddies with us? I hope that's not asking too much, considering what just happened. And Momo's like, no, it's perfectly fine. And Agony Symbiote would be like, we are Agony. And Momo would be like, yeah, it's fine, Agony. Besides, if this helps you build up trust better with your own brother and his host, well, then it's all the better. Because, there shouldn't have to be trust problems in between siblings. I mean, sure, siblings can fight from time to time, but it shouldn't have to be this bad of a trust problem that you can't even accept being healed. I mean, it may look scary at first with all the claws and everything, but trust me, Izuku's healed Shoto before with the power of your brother. And, the Agony Symbiote actually gets intrigued by this. He has. Why is that? Why is he so eager to do something like that? And, well, Momo's like, not to be rude, but, can't you guys just look into your host's minds and see for yourself? And even hear for yourself if, you're good enough at it. And the Agony Symbiote would be like, oh yes, that's right. While Shoto's mind is mostly on shutdown now, and his hormone levels do seem to be raising around you, which means he probably likes you a lot more than I originally thought, I think I might be able to do this. And the Agony Symbiote is able to do it, and, realizes truly are brothers. I wasn't exactly sure of it at first, but it seems the Midoriya kid wasn't lying. So, I guess now the family truly has rejoined itself. And it seems that Izuku has his own girlfriend too. And Momo is just like, what? Me? Shoto? Boyfriend? Girlfriend? I guess you could look at it that way. And, for once in a long time, that since, the Agony Symbiote could remember, it actually starts to laugh. It actually starts to have happy emotions. Just genuinely be happy in a non-bloodthirsty way. In a way of, wholesome happiness. Knowing that the family can be together and that, the lives that not only its own host, but the host of its brother are living very, happy lives. Very positive lives. And that in doing what it did, it helped with, the stopping of a huge villain threat that could have done a lot worse than it originally did. And it's even better to hear that the Hero 13 is not dead. That she will be making a recovery, it will just take a long while. And, Recovery Girl doing a lot of her own, shit. Doing a lot of what she does. And so, that just leaves Agony with a very, sweet, not sour taste in their mouth. And a very comfortable, good feeling as it begins to slink into Shoto's skin, giving him a feeling of warmth that's besides Momo's skin, raising his hormones. He feels a different warmth. The warmth of his symbiote finally beginning to calm, and even requesting to be taken over to Izuku and Carnage whenever they finally get back to UA. And so, Momo, wouldn't you do this? Take them over to Izuku and Carnage, saying that she believes Agony, the Agony Symbiote, is more trusting now. After figuring out everything. And, figuring out that their host and their host's brother, who is also their brother, are living happy lives. And, are just genuinely, living a pleasant existence. This, makes Agony happy. And, the fact that Carnage and Izuku are happy makes Agony happy. And this also gives Shoto a pleasant feeling because, now, not only, he was already aware that Izuku's existence alongside Carnage and him was a very pleasant one, but to be, aware that the symbiote he's bonded to is also happy about it is a very pleasant, very pleasant feeling. And so finally, Shoto is able to be healed, and thus the healing process for whatever might have happened to the Agony Symbiote also begins quite steadily. And, it doesn't take long at all for the Agony Symbiote to start feeling a whole hell of a lot better. And even have improved trust in, those that should already been able to trust already. But because of certain reasons, not so easy to get that trust. But because of Momo, and what Momo said and what, Agony, the Agony Symbiote saw, the trust issues have been resolved. And now everyone is feeling a little bit better, all except for some of the pro heroes, especially Endeavor, Because he's like, what if this happens again in the near future? What if isn't as lucky this time, like the next time it happens? And, Endeavor's just on the, thinking process of maybe actually, like, getting Shoto and Izuku out of UA. Taking them from there. And, whenever Principal Nesu asked about this, like, why? Endeavor just plainly tells him he's worried about their safety. Like, this villain attack just happened, and if it wasn't for his adopted son's spidey sense, it could have been a lot worse. If it wasn't for his adopted son's spidey sense, and this agony symbiote that seems to have latched on to Shoto and decided to become his symbiote partner and him its host. If it wasn't for that, things could have gone a lot worse than they actually did. However, Endeavor would just end up, pondering to himself. The agony symbiote saying that it doesn't like that look on Endeavor's face. It's almost like that look spells something bad. Almost like Endeavor's thinking of something that could be a concern for the future. A possible concern. But for now, basically, the whole press are hounding each and every one of the UA students, except for Izuku, Shoto, Momo, and Toga, because, well, Izuku and Shoto don't want their girlfriends being hounded by the press because they are, like, involved with them, and they themselves don't want to be hounded by the press. So, yeah. Not happening. And, well, the symbiotes already know that their hosts don't like the idea of being hounded by the press. So, the symbiotes would make a quick example. Both Carnage and Agony would do this. Basically showing all these press members, all these different, like, media things. Basically telling them, back off, or else you're gonna get it. So these red and purple creatures that seem to come out from Izuku and Midoriya's bodies, basically warning the whole media and press and everything that either back off or you're gonna pay. Basically, after a warning like that, yeah, they're not gonna want to do too many following. There's still going to be some people who are going to be that way, but those are the people that are going to get it. And so, basically, Izuku, knowing that Shoto doesn't have nearly as much experience with this symbiote as, he does, and basically, in order to get level with Izuku whenever he did, he and the agony symbiote basically had to go in overdrive with their bodies and, like, their entire nervous system. And that spelled all sorts of bad. Basically, that could have possibly put Shoto in the hospital. Like, Izuku is like reprimanding the dude. Like, you could have possibly been put in the hospital because of that. Don't ever do that again. Like, I don't want to lose you, my dude. Like, so don't ever do that again. And so, Izuku basically, just so that Shoto doesn't ever make a mistake like that again, decides to become his symbiote bonding teacher. With the assistant teacher being Carnage. Because, well, this is a class sort of thing about how to, work with your symbiote. And so, what better way to do that than to have an assistant teacher who is the symbiote of the actual teacher? So, yeah, that would be going on. And this is where I'm going to leave off. Alonzine and Dowses, the Dark Shadow Member Kazoe out of here. The boys, like, favorite, subscribe, click that little bell. And I'm a bounce like it's Quidditch. Yeet, 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 and all the yeet. Misdirection.